Right in the middle of the US-Canada border is a blip, a mistake, or as some would say, a problem. Due to a mapping error in 1783, this northern Minnesota town is now cut off from the mainland United States, and the only way to get there is to cross into Canada for 50 miles, then cross back through the border into the town of Angle Inlet, USA. But then 2 years ago, the border with Canada closed, trapping the residents in place. But then the border partially opened so long as you have a vaccine and a negative COVID test within 72 hours, which the people in Angle Inlet don't have access to.
There is nothing remotely close to a lab and a defibrillator about close to a hospital you're going to find up here.
But we planned a trip for less than 72 hours to use the same test twice and visit this uniquely placed American city controlled by Canada to find out what their ideas are for liberation.
We were stuck in the middle of a blizzard on our way up, so we stopped in the closest city to the border to meet with Brian, who operates the plows.
What is it, like 40 or 50% of Canadian population's below us, because like Toronto and all the capital is down by the lakes, Great Lakes, so they're south of us too.
So these Canadians aren't as tough as they think they are.
Believe me, there's some tough ones there too, but the Northwest Angle is Minnesota, but you cannot get to it on land unless you go through Canada. And their entire industry is tourism, fishing. I mean, they don't get any other income from anything else but people coming up. And so there's a service up there that plows like 30 miles of ice road to service all these resorts. They got to get fuel to them, they got to get food and groceries, beverages, all that stuff. So they plow these roads up there.
In previous years, in order to access their own country, the people of Angle Inlet banded together to plow a road 37 miles long on top of the lake.
So on the map, where does the ice road start and end to get to the Angle?
Well, so last year was the first year it was ever done, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it only was done because of COVID. Because otherwise people would just drive up. It's an hour and 20-minute drive. So it started at our resort, and then it came out to this corner here, because you can't go into Canadian waters, right? And then come up to get to the Northwest Angle.
Unfortunately, record snowfalls this year made the lake impassable.
Now they have found other means too, like they're doing bomber services. I believe there's some outfit out of Duluth that's flying people in. So they're plowing like ice runways for the planes to come in and land and drop people off.
Let's say we have a pretty average sized car and a lot of heart. How far do you think we can make it in this weather? Okay.
Not in a car. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. When you called yesterday, said you're coming up, and I said, well, they're forecasting a blizzard, so
yeah.
I hope you guys know what that means.
It's kind of amazing that we got this far.
Right.
So Kent is saying that the map shows the angle. I think it's over there. Hopefully we can get out on the ice.
Saw him again.
After a valiant attempt, it was clear that we weren't in fact going to take the ice road, so we took the truck up to the border.
Oh, jeez.
She was intimidating.
Then a long drive through Canada. Finally, America. But wait, after entering back into the continental US, we had to track down a local checkpoint.
There we go.
A few clicks on a touchscreen, and almost 2 hours later, we were in.
We should be in America.
This whole process is something that many residents of the Northwest Angle have to go through twice a day. Our first meeting was with Paul, a resort owner and lifelong resident who had strong opinions about the border inconvenience.
Come on in. We're trying to figure out how to take this to a court.
What would you take to court exactly?
Holy shit, not being able to go to your own country? That seems like an infringement of your liberty, isn't it? But if I can get a ruling, if I can get somewhere, if you can just get it filed, that will create a lot of tension.
This process, among other things, has led some to believe that maybe this part of the world should just be Canada.
Instead of building a wall, a new petition is simply asking to redraw the map.
There's a petition to the White House that asks Donald Trump to give it back to Canada.
Look, Minnesotans are already honorary Canadians. Why don't you just take all of us?
The Great Walleye War, as it came to be known, ended amicably.
I mean, is there a point for any of these places that says maybe it should just be Canada?
Would you want to give up your citizenship? Because you can't get some bureaucrats together to come up with a simple solution? You know, as American citizens, we need to not only follow our laws, but a foreign country's law. All right? Everybody talks about, oh, it's the longest undefended border in the world. Try living with it.
I mean, what would be a solution to that problem? It's like very inconvenient.
Well, a solution would just be have a travel corridor.
The idea of a travel corridor could mean a tunnel or a bridge, but so far the most realistic choice would be to allow residents to travel on the pre-existing roads between the northwest angle and the rest of the US without stopping at customs. It could be protected by cameras, transmitters, or other methods to ensure people go where they say they will.
Tried to point out the fact that there's the exact parallel on the south side of this lake, and that's the CN rail line. And it goes down at Warroad. It runs about 36 miles in the United States and goes back up in Baudette. That's Canada's big east-west line, 23 trains in 24 hours. There's no place else where you have a land crossing, commercial goods going through and not checking customs. Look overhead, you'll see idling trains right there. So I'm telling people, let's go block the damn train. Treat me like the train. Be a neighbor. Reciprocate. And it's not the first time we floated blocking the train. Back in the Walleye Wars, we also did it, and the FBI called us up about it. Okay.
What?
Yeah. But that's the thing. People up here, we're remote. We're not looking for drama. Right? We just want to run our business and be law-abiding. Honest to God, right? Look where we've chosen to live.
If Paul were to block the train, the amount of money in crude oil that would stall on the tracks would be alarming.
$90, so $5,990, that's 45. So that's 40, is that 45,000 a car? How much is that?
$646,875,000.
That's in one day. Those are numbers that'll make you tingly back here.
Finding a better method of border crossing for US citizens is a difficult conversation. Let us know in the comments what you think should happen. Maybe this part of the US should just be Canada.
A few of the 119 residents in Angle Inlet live on islands, so the local plow crews continue to make ice roads that connect to the mainland. One of those island residents, Joe, who happens to live in a literal lighthouse, is an expert on the history of the Angle.
The Lake of the Woods goes like seemingly forever north, squiggling between those 14,000 islands. Can you go all the way up there?
Yep.
On boat?
So the law is in the summer you could go here. Yeah. As long as you don't
that's
touch.
What I'm saying. Can you go?
As long as you don't touch land, you could go anywhere. As soon as you touch land, you need a call in.
So you could go.
Yep, by water.
All the way up there.
As long as you don't touch land, you could go anywhere on the lake you want.
But in the winter,
summer,
you cannot.
In the winter, they treat ice as land.
Huh. To figure out how 2, or actually 3 countries got to this point, we're going to need a little history with Chris, or actually with me. I am Chris. By just looking at the strange little bump on the top of Minnesota, it doesn't really make sense, right? Well, at the time of its creation, it didn't make sense then either. It all started with the Treaty of Paris in 1783. Great Britain and the US had agreed upon a border with Canada on the eastern side of the US that looked like this. However, the border was planned to end at the northwesternmost point of Lake of the Woods, because they, for some reason, had that in writing and wanted to stick with it.
What is the true northwestmost part of Lake of the Woods? Is it Angle Inlet?
Yep.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
So they were not wrong there.
Right.
Then in 1807, with the Louisiana Purchase, things got tricky. The British government felt that the new border should connect the pre-existing border from the east straight across the water to the 49th parallel and continue westward from there. But the United States remembered that they owned the northwesternmost point of Lake of the Woods.
No one really wanted to relinquish what was in words.
To change any wording from the original documentation would be altering the very piece of history that granted the U.S. to be, well, the U.S. It seemed that everyone understood how crazy the map was. Canada and Great Britain even attempted to buy the land, but America, being America, shut it down. It's not perfect, but Angle Inlet is how it was to be.
After being filled in on why this place is actually American, we set out to find Joe's wife, Anita, who had stationed a fish house just feet away from the Canadian border. The border here is marked by black poles stuck in the ice.
I mean, you're like living 5 feet from Canada right now.
Yep.
You can.
And I definitely,
Canada.
definitely had the GPS out making sure I was fishing on the U.S. side. They'll check you.
I mean, what would happen if you actually, like, let's say it's super wide out, and you put your house like a couple feet on the Canadian side, what would happen?
There's no exceptions. I mean, even if I said, hey, I didn't realize, that's not going to be forgiving. You're breaking the law, you know.
And that's because the ice is considered land in the winter, correct?
Exactly.
So in the summer, you could go right over there wherever you want.
Yep. Yep. As long as you have your Canadian license, you're fine. It's there. When you catch, you caught a baby. You know, when you catch big fish with this $10 pole here, the pole literally is
Big fish like this, Daddy? You have people coming from all over the world to fish right here, right at the border of Canada and the U.S.
Yep. Well, they come from all over because this is the walleye capital of, you know, the world. That people get big walleyes, and that's what they come here for, trophy fish. They come in musky fish too. That's a big thing.
Oh, baby!
Not very big. It's a sauger.
While it may look easy to cross the border, especially in winter, the consequences are no joke. One of the prominent modes of transportation around here are the bombardiers. Basically a minivan bred with a snow machine, these special vehicles are essential in the Northwest Angle. However, bombers stopped being made over 40 years ago because they were no longer necessary. We met with Angle Outpost resort owner Jason as he pulled his fleet into his shop after a long day on the ice.
It's just a lot of lake to cross too. I mean,
yeah.
It's an hour and 45 minutes in one of these things, and like yesterday I did it, and it sucks when you can't see. It can be dangerous. I mean, if you break down out there or get lost, and these are old machines, they break down.
And so what about like the numbers this year?
Every year it's gone up, but this is by far the worst year we've had. I just think it's foolish to have school kids go through this whole thing too.
Yeah, so the kids have to go through the border twice?
Yep.
So 4 borders?
Jack rides the bus a couple times a week, so we can't go to town to go to a funeral, but they can come across and buy beer whenever they want. That's bullshit. I have a little bit of bitterness towards Canada. I can't help it.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't express too much of it, but...
After another quick rip in the 4x4 across the ice road, we met with Travis, a part owner of the Sunset Lodge and a guy who takes the border very seriously.
What if you were to go across the border right now? Football throws away, you walk over, say hello to the Canadians?
I ain't doing anything wrong that's going to keep me out of Canada. I'm taking everything down the line. They say I can't come today, I'm not going today. If I have a couple of drinks, I'm thinking about it. Like, I got to stop. I want to fish Canada. Not can I safely drive my vehicle home, but that will mess with my ability to do my job in Canada because I won't be allowed.
On a day like today where it's negative 10 degrees out, raging winds, you kind of have to wonder, like, what are people coming out here for?
Yeah, it's a trophy fish. I mean, a fish of a lifetime. They call them lifetime fish for a reason. You know, you might only get one.
As we left the angle, well, once we got unstuck for the final time, it was hard to forget the resilience of the 119 people on Angle Inlet who face a daunting task, standing up to an entire country.
Be sure to subscribe and let us know in the comments what you think should happen about this border inconvenience. And if you're interested in this type of video, be sure to check out our episode we did about Point Roberts, Washington.